people will just kind of think that those people need help, and I don't really want to be considered one of those people. I just kind of want to be considered as everybody else. I have to work just as hard as anybody else, sometimes harder for some things. I don't want to be one of those people that people feel like they need to cater to.
Jareen Takip has spina bifida. When she was born in 1995, Jareen was one of approximately 200,000 cases diagnosed that year. Her parents didn't know what to expect, as they were told she would never be able to walk.
I was their first child, so they were, scared out of their minds to begin with because they'd never had a kid before, and then they're trying to figure out, okay, now we're having our first kid, but not everything is going to go as planned.
Spina bifida is a birth defect in which a portion of the neural tube doesn't develop fully. The open section of the neural tube causes defects in the spinal cord and vertebrae. But Jareen defied the odds. She did walk. In fact, she even played soccer and danced until age 11.
I was always able to do the same things as my peers, just maybe not as fast or not as well. And I think it was when the chair was introduced that I really started to feel the difference,
It was isolating to be the only one in a wheelchair at grade school. The other kids would often stare and ask countless questions. One of the big ones being, how could she be walking one day and the next be in a chair? Because Jareen can walk, life is just a bit easier for her in her chair.
I can still walk a little bit, but it's with the way that my knees are and the way that my muscles have been kind of through it the last couple of years. It takes a lot out of me to walk.
Recently, a women's studies class came to realize how easily one can take walking for granted. They wanted to understand what life in a wheelchair is like, and they were shocked by how difficult it is.
Can someone open the door for me? I can't get it.
There are a lot of cracks on the sidewalk and bumps, and so every time I'd be walking, my walker would go boom, and so we were like, oh, well, there's a fall, there's a fall. So there's about 5 or 6 of those. Some of the doors, the handicapped buttons are further away from the door, so it'd take you an extra 5 seconds to kind of reach out of your way. People always were looking at me. They were kind of staring, actually, so that was weird. And when we'd walk by them, you could see them shift out of their way dramatically.
I definitely, myself, I take walking for granted. Wearing my Fitbit, it's oh, I didn't get my 10,000 steps in today, whatever, but they can't do stuff like that, or even go for a run, or it's much faster to walk than be in a wheelchair, and I definitely do take walking for granted, and I really appreciate what they're able to do. My arms are so sore after today, and I probably won't be able to go to the gym tonight. I'm so tired.
While spending a few moments in Jareen's shoes, they felt the stares that occur for her on a daily basis.
Well, it was really alienating. I mean, if you're someone with a disability, you already know that you're different, and you expect people to stare at you or to glance up and then, look down, because something different, of course, anyone's going to look at. But some people were staring for a while.
Every once in a while, I'll be out somewhere, I'll be going somewhere on campus, and, I'll pass people and I'll just see, them do one of these. And I just kind of wish I could carry a sign around, if you have a question, just ask.
It kind of frustrates me a little bit because they sometimes don't realize that is a rude thing, but also I kind of understand because it's human nature to notice differences. So if they don't know her, I can kind of understand that, but it still frustrates me that people will stare or look a little bit longer.
Jareen's positive attitude makes it seem as if the physical obstacles in her path are minor bumps in the road.
My parents were huge in telling me to kind of advocate for myself and basically to not let anybody hand anything to me. They were pretty instrumental in really getting me to be an independent person and not really be expecting of anything.
Jareen has endured 11 surgeries to get her to this point. She says her support system keeps her going.
I don't know, it must have been fate that we became friends, because I remember seeing her on campus. She you know, she stands out. And freshman year, I remember seeing her on campus and thinking, she looks different. Like, I bet she's pretty cool, but I don't know. And then gradually I just got to talk to her in, you know, a couple classes, some club things. And then, I don't know, it was almost like a light switch. We're like, oh, we're best friends now. Like, this is great.
Great friends haven't been the only people Jareen has relied on over the years. Her younger brother Richie has always been by her side.
My brother and I are 20 months apart in age, less than 2 years. And so we've grown up together, we've done everything together. He is probably one of the most selfless people I know. He had to grow up really fast. I probably wouldn't be here without him. Whew. God damn it. When I was here, the first time I was like, you know what, that doesn't look that bad, I can do this. So I huffed and I puffed and I hauled myself up the hill. So I got to the top and I'm like, yay, I was like celebrating and all excited and stuff. And my brother was here, he's like, you should just go down like as fast as you can and like celebrate that you like made it up this hill. I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. So I did, I started down the hill, I hit a crack in the sidewalk, and I went flying, like, out of my chair, skidding on the sidewalk, like, down this hill, and I'm like, oh gosh. So I only did that once, and then I decided that the hill was never going to happen again, but ironically, that was the visit where I decided I was coming here, so.
When searching for a college, Jareen wanted a school that was wheelchair accessible and far enough away from home. And that's when she discovered the Student Disabilities Services at St. Ambrose and met Ryan Sadler.
Ryan essentially sold me on coming here because he was so welcoming to my family. He was so just willing to help with whatever we needed.
Not many universities have student disability services. If they do, they only focus on intellectual disabilities. SAU, however, helps with both physical and intellectual disabilities.
There are a number of schools that are larger than us and some that are smaller than us that only have one person in this role. And so I could say our commitment to students with disabilities is equal to or if not greater than what it's been.
The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990. It protects people with disabilities against discrimination in all areas. SAU follows the ADA and the Rehab Act of 1973 and does their part to exceed those regulations.
I'm kind of a checks and balance for our physical plant, so when a new building goes up, whether it's a residence hall or the athletic facilities going up or an academic building, to make sure that accessibility is on the docket and it's not one of those things that's taken off. So that's how we fall in line with that.
Ambrose has certain codes they have to follow, especially when building a new building. Parking lots and parking spaces have to be in a route that is least restrictive for people with disabilities.
And one thing that we pride ourselves on at St. Ambrose in all of this in terms of working with students with disabilities is that we don't want to just meet the letter of the law, but we want to meet the intent of the law.
Sadler isn't the only person at SAU that Jareen credits. The head of the maintenance department, Jim Hannon, tries to make sure Jareen has the most effective and comfortable living situation.
They're really looking at and working with the student as an individual. I look at a kind of the whole, a broader picture. What guidelines am I required to meet? And they can zero in on the individual and say, yes, that's good, but if we could go just a little bit further and do this, then we try and meet that to try and ensure that we're doing everything that we can to make it as easy as possible for them physically. We couldn't meet every requirement. Money's always a restrictor there, but I think for the most part they're satisfied with what it is we're trying to do for them.
Along with the physical plant, folks in the Res Life office make sure Jareen's living situations are suitable. For the past 3 years, Angie Swidergal has worked with Jareen personally.
It's not really much different than working with any other student. Jareen is really good at letting me know if she needs something or if something isn't isn't sort of up to par. I was very cognizant when she lived in Bechtel, and a little less in North because the doors open automatically, but I was very cognizant the year she lived in Bechtel that the front door button was always working. Either she would let me know or I would see it myself that it was either, if there might be an issue with it, if the door got stuck somehow or whatever. It is up to us as a university to make sure that the amenities we do have for students are functional. Knowing, having a face, having a personality, having a human to that idea that we need to make sure that we're doing okay. And so it was like, this is for Jareen. Like, press the button, make sure that it opens, kind of thing. Also understanding that she isn't any different than any other student, that she still has classes, she still has, family, she still drives, all these different things are still a part of her, and she still deserves every little bit of an Ambrose education that anybody else does. And so if there are needs here and there, that we make sure that we help her out.
Davis Hall and the Galvin Fine Arts Center are the only two buildings at SAU without elevators.
I don't think any campus is entirely 100% accessible, but this one's pretty high on the list.
All other buildings at SAU are handicap accessible, for the most part. Jareen has learned to take certain routes to class that are easiest for her to navigate.
Everything's relatively flat, with the exception of my very favorite hill by the chapel. Everything's pretty flat. The elevators are relatively functional. In comparison to most of the places that I visited when I was looking at schools, this is the most accessible one that I found.
While on paper, Jareen is technically handicapped, she is more normal than different.
When they found out that I was going to be born with spina bifida, they told my mom, she's not going to walk, she's not going to talk, she's not going to do anything. And I'm here. I'm 21. I'm in a chair primarily now, but I'm still walking. I'm still doing all of those things that they told me that I'd never get the chance to do. So I think in the grand scheme of things, like, my entire life has been doing that and breaking that one stereotype, and I think that's just motivated me to do it even more.
Participating in Dance Marathon, Jareen is able to give back to the patients at the University of Iowa's Children's Hospital, where she received treatments as a child.
I love watching her passion for Dance Marathon.
I challenged myself at the beginning of the year that if I set my fundraising goal at $1,000 and I reached $1,000 or exceeded that, then I would shave my head. Oh my gosh, I cried so much. I looked in the mirror, I was like, holy shit. It was really like an emotional moment, thinking of all the kiddos that we've helped through Dance Marathon, and just thinking about like the kiddo that will get my hair eventually. It's really overwhelming to think about just the magnitude of what that was.
Jareen has proven there is more to her than just her chair. Jareen doesn't let her disability hold her back.
She's hilarious. She is very genuine. She has a heart of gold, will help anybody at any time. Literally drop anything she's doing to go help someone who needs her.
She's headstrong. She's very determined, I should say, to do things on her own.
Loud, very outgoing, and very open.
It's gonna get hard. It's gonna be tough sometimes, but you gotta get through it.
Jareen doesn't let her disability hold her back.
Like surface level, no. I don't notice it as much just because it's a part of my daily routine. However, if you were to ask me what I thought like played into the way that I see the world, it definitely is a part of me that I would not leave out. It gives you like an entirely new perspective on everything. You have to view the world so differently than most people would. And so it's definitely taught me to be adaptive and to think on my toes and to think ahead about things. But it's also it's taught me how to laugh at myself, because if you don't know how to laugh at yourself, you're gonna probably have a rough time. And it's taught me a lot. I view the world so much more differently now, and it's taught me to be kinder to people, because I know that when things are different from other people, people aren't always nice to you. So I think it's taught me like a more genuine kindness towards people, because you never know what they're going through.
She really wants people to ask her questions. You know, she has nothing to hide.
I would want to know how I could help. You know, if Ambrose isn't doing anything to change the situation, how can an individual like me help her?
If they have a question, just to ask, because when you're knowledgeable about something or when you learn something, then it's almost impossible to be like awkward about it or to be ignorant about it necessarily.
Since this documentary was shot, Jareen has been accepted into the St. Ambrose University Masters of Social Work program. She will start working on her master's degree in the fall.
Kind of the biggest, like, glaring, like, adulthood kind of sign right now. I can't feel my butt, so it's not a problem, thankfully.
When's the last time you felt your butt?
It's been a while.